let's unpack this. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the details around the sudden passing of celebrity hairstylist Jesus Guerrero.
Yeah, known for working with some huge names like Kylie Jenner,
Yeah,
Jennifer Lopez.
exactly. And the source material we're looking at is, well, mainly a news report.
Right, one that came out revealing the medical cause of death. He was only 34.
Just 34. It also shares reactions from people he worked closely with.
Yeah.
So our mission here is really to pull out the key info from this report, understand what happened, but also what it tells us about his impact.
And especially that contrast, right, between his private health issues and his very public life and connections.
Definitely. So get ready. We're going to explore what was known at first about his health, then the surprising official medical findings, and those really heartfelt tributes.
What's really striking about this source is how it puts those two things side by side. The deeply personal health battle and this huge, very public outpouring of grief.
Yeah, it gives a complex picture.
It really does.
Absolutely. And the report, it kicks off by giving us some context from his sister, Jesus Guerrero, about what the family understood, before he passed.
That's right. So, according to her, Jesus had been diagnosed with gastritis. That was some months before.
Okay.
And at the time, it wasn't seen as something that, well, should have gotten so severe.
Right. Gastritis, usually manageable. And she mentioned details from, I think she called it the paperwork the family got, indicating he'd lost 20 pounds before he died.
20 pounds. That's significant.
It is. And she said they suspected something with his stomach, noting that people close to him knew he often couldn't eat without pain.
And that account from his sister, it really underlines how hidden his struggle was.
Yeah.
She also pointed out he tended to keep health problems private, like even from his family sometimes. People around him apparently encouraged him to rest, get help.
But he thought he could push through.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
As she put it, unfortunately, that just wasn't the case.
So from the family's perspective, the focus was really on stomach problems, that weight loss. A private battle he mostly kept to himself.
Exactly.
Then the report shifts. It goes to the official findings. What did the County of Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office actually report?
Okay, so this is where the source gives us those official medical details. This is about 3 months after he passed away.
Right.
The immediate cause of death ruled pneumonia and cryptococcosis.
Cryptococcosis.
It's a type of fungal infection.
Okay, pneumonia and a fungal infection. That sounds, like a very serious level of illness being the direct causes.
Critical.
But the report, it also listed a secondary cause, didn't it?
Yes, it did. According to that medical examiner's report, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS, was identified as a secondary cause.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So those initial concerns his sister shared, the stomach issues, the weight loss, they were clearly symptoms he was having.
Or had real symptoms.
But they were part of this much more profound underlying health condition, which ultimately led to those specific infections being the immediate cause of death.
Yeah, it's quite a stark difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
Between what was maybe suspected based on what people could see
Right.
and what the official medical findings actually revealed.
It really underscores just how private that health struggle was.
Absolutely. And yet, despite this deeply personal, hidden battle, the source immediately pivots. It shows us the huge public impact he had, especially, within those celebrity circles he worked in.
And this is where you see that outpouring, the grief, the affection. The report shares some really touching tributes from, several prominent figures he worked with very closely.
Like Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer Lopez, yeah. She shared photos apparently featuring him just days before he died. They were on a trip to the UAE.
Wow, days before. And her words, captured in the source from her Instagram tribute, they're quite moving.
What did she say?
She described him as gentle, kind, loving, quiet, and unassuming.
Quiet.
But also, incredibly powerful. She said his presence was felt the moment he walked into any room. And that he never demanded the spotlight. It was his heart, his talent, his artistry that did that, effortlessly.
That's a beautiful description from Jennifer Lopez. Really speaks to that quiet strength you mentioned.
It does.
And Kylie Jenner also shared a very heartfelt message. She highlighted how long and how deep their working relationship was.
Yes, Kylie called Jesus more than just her friend.
More than a friend.
Yeah, she called him a light in my life, a source of laughter, comfort, love, and unwavering support.
Unwavering support.
And she added that she didn't know how she would have made it through the last almost decade without him by her side.
Almost a decade. That's a significant chunk of time, especially during such a public phase of her life.
Huge.
Yeah.
That level of support really says something.
It really does. And the source, it also includes tributes from like a whole network of other makeup artists, stylists, figures he collaborated with.
Right? You see mentions and tributes from people like Shay Mitchell, Mary Phillips, Chris Appleton, Jen Atkin, Ariel Tejada, Maeve Riley.
A lot of big names in that world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And collectively, these messages, they paint this really consistent picture of someone who is deeply valued way beyond just their professional skills.
It seems like the themes that keep coming up in these tributes, as the source highlights them, are his kindness, his talent, and just the genuine supportive presence he brought.
Exactly. Like Mary Phillips, for example, described him as the absolute kindest, most authentic person. She said just being in his presence was a gift.
Wow.
And Ariel Tejada, who worked with him a lot, especially with Kylie Jenner.
Right. They were a team often.
Yeah, he called him his anchor, his rock, his brother. He emphasized their unique bond, how they were in sync when working together. These aren't just colleagues talking.
No, clearly deep personal connections.
Yeah.
And that specific mention, him being an anchor or a rock for someone else, while he himself was quietly battling such a severe health issue.
Yeah.
That's particularly poignant, isn't it?
It really is. It hits hard. And other tributes kind of echo that same feeling.
Okay.
Well, Chris Appleton highlighted his undeniable talent and creativity, noting how he made hair an art form and inspired so many. Jen Atkin called him a loving light and talent lost too soon. Maeve Riley just described him as the brightest light and kindest soul.
Just consistently positive descriptions. Even Khloe Kardashian, the source notes, responded to one post with broken heart emojis.
Yeah, showing that ripple effect, the impact within that whole professional community and beyond, likely. This whole collection of voices in the source, it really just underscores the kind of person he must have been.
Yeah.
Someone who formed real bonds, brought positive energy, even while navigating these incredibly difficult private health challenges.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean? We've kind of navigated the details from this source material.
Right.
We saw the initial limited understanding from his sister, the stomach issues, the weight loss, his tendency to keep things private.
Right.
And then sharply contrasted with the official medical findings. Pneumonia, that fungal infection as immediate causes, with AIDS as a secondary cause. What's really fascinating here, and I think what the source illustrates so effectively, is that stark contrast.
Yeah, between the hidden personal struggle
and the very public outpouring of grief and affection from the people he worked with. The report shows how figures like J-Lo saw his quiet power.
Right, and Kylie Jenner feeling his unwavering support for nearly 10 years.
And how so many others spoke about his kindness, his talent, the genuine connection he fostered.
It really brings home that, a person's impact, their ability to be a light or an anchor for others, can exist right alongside these deeply challenging private realities that maybe no one else sees.
It absolutely can. Which I suppose leads to an important question for you, the listener, to think about.
How often do we really know the full story of what someone is going through? Especially when their public life, or maybe just the face they show the world, seems so vibrant and impactful.